The research vessel, USS Defiance, drifted silently through space near the edge of the galaxy, where few ships dared to venture. Captain John Carter stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main viewport while his crew worked at their stations. The ship had been traveling for 3 months to reach this remote system and the planet below. Them held secrets that would change everything. Dr. Lisa Morgan adjusted her equipment in the science lab as she prepared for another day of analyzing samples from the planet's surface. She had been studying alien artifacts for 15 years, but nothing she found on Kepler 442b made any sense according to current galactic knowledge. The ruins they discovered contained technology that seemed both ancient and impossibly advanced. At the same time, Jake Phillips sat at his communication station, monitoring signals from across the galaxy. Most of the chatter was routine Imperial business, but he noticed something strange in the background radiation patterns near their location. The signals seemed almost familiar, though he could not explain why a human would recognize patterns from this forgotten corner of space. Down in the planetary research lab, Dr. Morgan held a small crystalline device that hummed with energy despite being thousands of years old. When she connected it to her analysis equipment, the results made her hands shake with excitement and fear. The device contained genetic markers that matched human DNA perfectly, but the dating showed it was created long before humans were supposed to have left Earth. Captain Carter received the call from Dr. Morgan just as the ship's sensors detected an approaching vessel. The incoming ship was massive and bore the dark colors of the Imperial Navy. Carter knew that Imperial ships rarely came to this sector unless something important was happening. Dr. Morgan rushed to the bridge, carrying her datapad with trembling hands. She showed Captain Carter the genetic analysis results and explained what they meant. According to her findings, humans had been on this planet thousands of years ago and had built the advanced technology they were now discovering. This contradicted everything the Galactic Empire had taught about human history. The Imperial ship hailed the USS Defiance and demanded immediate surrender. Admiral Zextel appeared on the main screen with his reptilian features twisted in what humans had learned to recognize as anger. The alien commander announced that the human research vessel was trespassing in restricted space and would be destroyed unless they handed over all research data immediately. Captain Carter tried to negotiate, but Admiral Zextel cut him off with a harsh gesture. The Imperial commander explained that humans were not supposed to be in this sector and definitely not supposed to be studying the ruins on the planet below. The alien's reaction confirmed Dr. Morgan's suspicions that the Empire was hiding something important about human origins. Jake Phillips worked frantically at his station as the Imperial ship powered up its weapons. He managed to establish a secure communication link to Earth and began transmitting Dr. Morgan's research data along with everything they had discovered about the ancient human ruins. The transmission would take several minutes to complete, and Jake hoped they had enough time. Admiral Zextel ordered his weapons officer to destroy the human ship, but first demanded to know what the humans had found on the planet. When Captain Carter refused to answer, the alien commander became visibly agitated. Zextel explained that certain information was too dangerous for humans to possess, and that the Empire had spent centuries keeping these secrets buried. Dr. Morgan continued her analysis even as the Imperial ship closed in on their position. The genetic evidence was overwhelming and painted a picture of human civilization that existed long before the official first contact with alien species. According to her data, humans had once been a spacefaring race with technology that surpassed anything currently known in the galaxy. The USS Defiance shuddered as Imperial tractor beams locked onto the hull. Captain Carter ordered his crew to prepare for boarding, but Jake Phillips reported that his transmission to Earth was almost complete. The communications officer had managed to send most of Dr. Morgan's research along with detailed scans of the alien ruins and the genetic evidence. Proving human origins. Imperial soldiers materialized on the bridge using advanced teleportation, technology that humans were not supposed to understand. Admiral Zexthal followed his troops and immediately ordered the destruction of all research equipment and data storage devices. The alien commander seemed desperate to prevent any information from reaching human authorities. Dr. Morgan watched in horror as Imperial soldiers destroyed years of research, but she felt a small satisfaction knowing that Jake Phillips had transmitted the most important findings to Earth. The genetic evidence and historical data would reach human leaders who could decide what to do with this revolutionary information. Admiral Zexthal personally executed Captain Carter and Dr. Morgan, along with most of the crew, but Jake Phillips managed to hide long enough to complete his transmission. The communications officer sent a final message to Earth, warning that the Empire was willing to kill humans to keep certain secrets hidden. His last act was to encrypt the transmission using codes that only human military leaders would understand. On Mars, the emergency transmission from the USS Defiance arrived during a routine session of the Galactic Confederation Council. President Susan Walsh received the encrypted message while sitting among representatives from dozens of alien species, who had no idea what the humans had just discovered about their own history. President Walsh watched the recorded evidence in stunned silence. As Dr. Morgan explained the genetic findings and showed images of advanced human technology from thousands of years ago, the implications were staggering and explained why humans had always been treated as second-class citizens in the galactic community. The alien delegates at the council meeting noticed the change in President Walsh's expression as she absorbed the shocking information about human origins. The other species had always been nervous around humans, but now they sensed something different in the human leader's demeanor. She seemed more dangerous somehow, as if she had remembered something important that had been forgotten. President Walsh stood slowly and addressed the assembled alien representatives with a voice that carried new authority and barely controlled anger. She announced that the United Terran Republic was formally declaring war on the Galactic Empire and withdrawing from all treaties and peaceful agreements. The human leader explained that her people now knew the truth about their history and would no longer accept being treated as inferior beings. The alien delegates erupted in panic as they realized that humanity had discovered something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. President Walsh's final words echoed through the council chamber as security alarms began to sound and emergency protocols activated across the galactic capital. The news of humanity's declaration of war spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On the imperial capital world of Nexus Prime, Emperor Krall Doom received the urgent reports while reviewing his morning intelligence briefings. Massive alien ruler had been in power for over 3 centuries and had never seen. His military advisors looked so concerned about what should have been a minor rebellion. General Patricia Hayes stood in the command center of Earth's primary military installation, watching displays that showed human fleets moving into position across 17 different star systems. The ships she commanded were not the outdated vessels that aliens expected humans to possess, but advanced warships that had been built in secret shipyards hidden throughout the solar system. Admiral Kevin Ross piloted the UTS Vengeance through hyperspace using jump drive technology that moved his ship faster than any known alien vessel. The human fleet under his command consisted of 200 ships equipped with weapons and defensive systems that had been developed without imperial oversight. Human engineers had been working for decades to create technology that could match or exceed anything in the galactic arsenal. Emperor Krall Doom convened an emergency meeting with his top military commanders to discuss the human threat. The alien ruler was confident that his vast empire could crush any rebellion, but his advisors seemed unusually nervous when discussing potential human capabilities. Several generals mentioned disturbing reports about human settlements that had begun displaying unexpected defensive preparations. Dr. Rachel Stone worked in the secret research facility on Titan, where human scientists had been developing advanced technology for over 50 years. The breakthrough discoveries made by Dr. Morgan had confirmed what many researchers suspected about human origins, and now they could finally use knowledge that had been hidden in their genetic memory for thousands of years. Commander Veltar led the first Imperial response fleet toward Earth, with orders to deliver a swift and decisive blow against human resistance. The alien commander was experienced in crushing rebellions and expected the humans to surrender once they saw the overwhelming force approaching their home system. His fleet of 200 ships represented enough firepower to destroy entire planets. The Imperial fleet dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find Earth defended by primitive human vessels, but instead encountered a network of defensive satellites that immediately began targeting their ships. Commander Veltar watched in disbelief as his advanced warships were torn apart by weapons that seemed to operate on principles unknown to galactic science. Admiral Ross coordinated the defense of Earth from his flagship, while human pilots in small fighter craft engaged Imperial ships using tactics that confused and frustrated experienced alien commanders. The human fighters moved in patterns that seemed random, but somehow anticipated every Imperial maneuver while striking with precision that exceeded anything in their military databases. Dr. Stone explained to her research team why human technology was proving so effective against Imperial forces. Human civilization had originally developed in the vacuum of space rather than on planetary surfaces, which meant their weapons and defensive systems were designed specifically for space combat. The genetic memories that had been suppressed for millennia were now helping human engineers create technology that surpassed current galactic standards. On the mining world, Kepler 186F construction worker Mike Johnson organized his fellow humans into an effective fighting force using improvised weapons and tactics that should not have worked against trained Imperial soldiers. The human workers had no military training, but somehow understood complex battlefield strategies and coordinated their attacks with precision that impressed even their alien captors. Commander Veltar tried to retreat from Earth's defensive network, but found his escape routes blocked by human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. The Imperial commander sent desperate messages to his superiors, explaining that human resistance was far beyond anything their intelligence reports had predicted. His fleet was being systematically destroyed by weapons that operated on unknown scientific principles. Emperor Kraldum received reports of Imperial defeats across multiple star systems as human forces launched coordinated attacks against military installations and supply lines. The alien ruler had expected quick victory against what his advisors considered a primitive species, but instead faced an enemy that seemed to understand galactic warfare better than civilizations that had been fighting for millennia. Mike Johnson led his group of human workers in capturing an entire Imperial garrison on Kepler 186F, using nothing but mining equipment and tactical knowledge that seemed to come from nowhere. The Imperial soldiers were trained professionals with advanced weapons, but found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who anticipated their every move and struck at their weaknesses with surgical precision. The ancient AI, known as the Chronicler, analyzed the battlefield reports and presented Emperor Kraldum with conclusions that filled the alien ruler with dread. According to the AI's analysis, human forces were not fighting like a newly spacefaring species discovering warfare, but like experienced conquerors who remembered being masters of galactic combat. Admiral Ross pressed his attack against the retreating Imperial fleet while broadcasting messages on all military frequencies. A human commander spoke in perfect Imperial standard, but also used phrases and tactical terminology from ancient languages that predated current galactic civilization. His knowledge of historical military strategies seemed impossible for someone from a supposedly primitive species. Dr. Stone made breakthrough discoveries while analyzing data from the destroyed Imperial ships and found that human weapons were not just more advanced, but operated on scientific principles that the current galaxy had forgotten. The technology recovered from ancient ruins was helping human scientists remember knowledge that their ancestors had possessed before being scattered across distant worlds. General Hayes coordinated attacks across 17 star systems while maintaining communication with human forces that should not have existed according to Imperial intelligence reports. The human military had been secretly expanding for decades and now revealed ships and weapons that matched or exceeded anything in the Imperial arsenal. Emperor Kraldoom stared at reports showing Imperial defeats on multiple fronts as human forces demonstrated capabilities that defied everything his military advisors believed about their limitations. The chronicler delivered its final assessment with mechanical precision that somehow conveyed the gravity of the situation facing the Galactic Empire. The ancient AI explained that humans were not fighting like a species learning warfare, but like conquerors who remembered ruling the galaxy and understood every aspect of strategic combat. Emperor Kraldoom realized that his empire faced an enemy that might be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined when humanity first declared war on the established galactic order. Emperor Kraldoom activated the most feared weapon in the Imperial arsenal when reports of human victories continued flooding his command center. The pacification fleet had never failed to crush a rebellion in over 2,000 years of galactic history, and its commander, War Marshal Vex Quinn, was known throughout the Empire as the being who could break any species through overwhelming force and psychological warfare. The massive fleet consisted of 500 warships, equipped with planet-killing weapons and mind control technology that had reduced countless civilizations to obedient servants of the Empire. War Marshal Vex Quinn reviewed intelligence reports about human capabilities while his fleet traveled toward the colony world of New Texas, where humans had established one of their strongest defensive positions. Governor Amy Carter received word of the approaching pacification fleet while coordinating defensive preparations across New Texas. The human colony had been aware of the war for only 3 days, but every settler worked with desperate efficiency to fortify their world using blueprints and tactical knowledge that seemed to come from their genetic memory rather than any formal military training. Captain Dan Murphy tested his experimental fighter craft in the upper atmosphere of New Texas while preparing for the battle that would determine whether humanity could survive as an independent species. The small ship was built using recovered human technology that operated on quantum principles unknown to current galactic science, but somehow familiar to human engineers who had never studied such advanced physics. War Marshal Vex Quinn expected the humans to surrender when his fleet arrived in the New Texas system, but instead found a world bristling with defensive installations that should have taken years to construct. The Imperial commander had conquered over 50 worlds during his career, but had never encountered resistance that seemed so perfectly coordinated and strategically sound. The pacification fleet deployed its mind control weapons that had broken the will of entire species, but found that humans seemed immune to psychological attacks that had never failed before. Governor Carter broadcast defiant messages to the Imperial fleet while her people prepared for battle with calm determination that unnerved even veteran Imperial soldiers. Captain Murphy led his squadron of experimental fighters against the pacification fleet, using tactics that seemed to anticipate every Imperial move before it happened. The human pilots flew in formations that looked chaotic, but somehow managed to penetrate defensive screens that had protected Imperial ships for centuries while delivering attacks with surgical precision. On Earth, Dr. Robert King analyzed fragments of alien technology recovered from destroyed Imperial ships and made discoveries that explained why human weapons were proving so effective against supposedly superior alien defenses. The quantum principles. Underlying human technology operated on a level of reality that current galactic science had forgotten or never understood. War Marshal Vex Queen watched his supposedly invincible fleet take heavy casualties as human fighters struck at weak points in ship designs that were considered perfect by Imperial standards. The human pilots seemed to know exactly where to hit each vessel to cause maximum damage while avoiding the heaviest defensive fire with movements that defied tactical logic. Governor Carter coordinated the ground defense of New Texas, while civilian colonists operated weapon systems with expertise that should have required years of training. The humans fought as if they had been preparing for this battle their entire lives and understood every aspect of planetary defense despite having no formal military experience. Dr. King discovered that human genetic memory contained not just knowledge of advanced technology, but also detailed information about galactic military tactics and strategies that predated the current Imperial system. The recovered data suggested that humans had once possessed comprehensive knowledge of warfare on a galactic scale. The experimental human fighters penetrated deep into the pacification fleet formation, while Captain Murphy led attacks against the flagship where War Marshal Vex Queen commanded the Imperial forces. The alien commander had never retreated from a battle, but found himself facing an enemy that fought with knowledge and skill that exceeded his own centuries of experience. Commander Sarah Johnson piloted the stealth ship UTS Phantom through the chaos of battle using cloaking technology that made her vessel invisible to Imperial sensors. The human commander had trained for covert operations, but found herself using infiltration techniques that seemed to come from inherited knowledge rather than formal instruction. War Marshal Vex Queen realized that his pacification fleet was facing defeat for the first time in its history as human forces continued to outmaneuver and outfight his supposedly superior vessels. The Imperial commander had broken countless rebellions, but had never encountered resistance that seemed to understand every aspect of galactic warfare better than his own experienced officers. The UTS Phantom penetrated the defensive screens around the Imperial flagship while Commander Johnson prepared for what should have been a suicide mission against the most heavily defended ship in the pacification fleet. The stealth vessel carried weapons that operated on principles unknown to Imperial science, but somehow familiar to human engineers. Governor Carter received reports that human forces were winning the battle against the pacification fleet, while civilian colonists continued to operate advanced defensive systems with skill that amazed even their own military advisors. The humans of New Texas fought as if they were recalling ancient knowledge rather than learning new tactics. Commander Johnson reached the bridge of the Imperial flagship, and instead of attempting sabotage, did something that shocked War Marshal Vex Queen and his crew. The human commander began speaking in ancient galactic language that had not been heard for thousands of years while broadcasting her message across all Imperial communication frequencies. The message that Commander Johnson delivered was simple but carried implications that terrified every alien who heard it. She spoke with authority that seemed to come from inherited memory of a time when humans had been the dominant species in the galaxy and other races had served under their command rather than the reverse. War Marshal Vex Queen listened to the human commander speak in perfect ancient galactic while explaining that humanity remembered what had been done to them and knew exactly why the Empire had tried to scatter and suppress their civilization. The implications of humans speaking a language they had supposedly never learned sent panic through the Imperial fleet. The pacification fleet began its retreat from New Texas as War Marshal Vex Queen realized that he faced an enemy that possessed knowledge and capabilities that should not exist according to everything the Empire believed about human limitations and galactic history. The revelation that humans could speak ancient galactic sent shockwaves through every level of Imperial society as emergency broadcasts carried Commander Johnson's message across the galaxy. Keeper Zothal received urgent orders from Emperor Kraldum to access the sealed archives that had been locked away for thousands of years and contained records from the first expansion era when the galaxy was young. The ancient files revealed information that explained why the Empire had worked so hard to keep humanity scattered and primitive. According to the historical records, humans had not been just another spacefaring species, but the galaxy's first interstellar empire that ruled over thousands of worlds. Through technological superiority and tactical brilliance that other species could not match. Admiral Chris Martinez led the human fleet toward the Nexus Gateway, which controlled access to the most important trade routes in the galaxy. The strategic position had been held by Imperial forces for over 2 millennia, but Admiral Martinez approached the heavily fortified system using battle plans that seemed to come from genetic memory rather than modern military doctrine. The sealed Imperial archives described the human dominion as benevolent rulers who brought peace and prosperity to countless worlds while solving conflicts through overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Other species had thrived under human leadership until a coalition of alien races engineered their downfall through treachery and biological warfare that scattered human survivors across primitive worlds. Keeper Zothal read the ancient records with growing horror as he realized that every story the Empire told about human origins was a deliberate lie designed to hide the truth about galactic history. The humans had been guardians and protectors who used their advanced technology to maintain order while allowing other species to develop according to their own cultural preferences. Admiral Martinez engaged the Imperial defenses at Nexus Gateway using tactics that confused and frustrated alien commanders who had spent centuries studying military strategy. The human fleet moved in formations that seemed impossible, but somehow managed to penetrate defensive positions that had been considered impregnable by every galactic military expert. Dr. Helen Brooks worked with recovered human artifacts in a research facility that had been hidden beneath the surface of Mars for over 50 years. The ancient technology was responding to human genetic patterns and revealing capabilities that exceeded anything currently known to galactic science, while confirming that humanity had once possessed knowledge that other species had forgotten. The Imperial records revealed that the coalition of alien species had used a combination of biological weapons and coordinated attacks to destroy human colonies while scattering survivors to primitive worlds, where they would lose their technological knowledge and advanced culture. The plan had been designed to ensure that humans would never again pose a threat to other species in the galaxy. Hidden quantum beacons scattered across the galaxy began activating in response to human military actions as ancient technology recognized the genetic signatures of its original creators. Dr. Brooks monitored the beacon activations while trying to understand how human ancestors had prepared for the possibility that their scattered descendants might one day rediscover their true heritage. Admiral Martinez captured the Nexus Gateway, using strategies that demonstrated comprehensive understanding of galactic warfare. Despite humans supposedly being new to interstellar conflict, the Imperial commanders defending the strategic position found themselves outmaneuvered by tactics that seemed to anticipate their every move while exploiting weaknesses in defensive systems they had considered perfect. Each activated quantum beacon revealed caches of ancient human technology that made current Imperial weapons look primitive by comparison. The artifacts contained not only advanced weapons and defensive systems, but also detailed records of human civilization at its height when they had been the galaxy's dominant species. Kraldum received reports of human victories across multiple star systems while his military advisors struggled to understand how supposedly primitive humans were defeating Imperial forces with such apparent ease. The alien ruler faced the terrible realization that his empire had been built on lies. About galactic history and human capabilities. Dr. Brooks discovered that the ancient human technology was designed to activate only when their descendants faced extinction or rediscovered their true origins. The quantum beacons had waited thousands of years for the right genetic signatures and historical circumstances before revealing the technological inheritance left by human ancestors. The recovered imperial archives contain detailed records of the original human dominion, including technological specifications and military strategies that explained why current human forces were proving so effective. Keeper Zalthal realized that modern humans were not learning new tactics, but remembering knowledge that had been encoded in their genetic memory. Admiral Martinez pressed his advantage after capturing Nexus Gateway, while using the strategic position to coordinate human attacks across the galaxy. The success at such an important imperial stronghold demonstrated that human forces possessed not only superior technology, but also comprehensive understanding of galactic strategic principles. Captain Lisa Turner detected a massive energy signature in deep space while conducting reconnaissance near the galactic core, where few ships ventured due to dangerous gravitational anomalies. The energy readings indicated something enormous was powering up after remaining dormant for thousands of years. Emperor Krall Doom faced an impossible choice between continuing a war against an enemy that grew stronger with each battle, or attempting to negotiate with a species that had every reason to seek complete revenge for centuries of oppression and attempted genocide. His military advisors could offer no solutions to the crisis facing the Empire. The energy signature that Captain Turner detected resolved into the largest ship ever recorded as ancient human technology came online after millennia of waiting. The vessel was clearly of human origin, but built on a scale that dwarfed any known starship while displaying technological capabilities that exceeded current understanding. Dr. Brooks analyzed data from the awakening ship and found genetic locks that had prevented its activation until humans rediscovered their true heritage and faced threats similar to those that had destroyed their original civilization. The massive vessel represented the ultimate expression of human technological achievement from their golden age. Captain Turner transmitted the ship's identification codes to human command and received confirmation that changed everything about the war against the Galactic Empire. The ancient vessel carried a name that appeared in the oldest human legends and represented the flagship of their original interstellar civilization that had ruled the galaxy in peace and prosperity before the Great Betrayal. The ancient human flagship UTS Prometheus Prime did not immediately attack when it finished powering up in the depths of space, but instead broadcast a message that reached every inhabited world in the galaxy. The transmission carried the voice of Admiral Catherine Walsh, whose consciousness had been preserved in the ship's quantum matrix for thousands of years, waiting for this moment when her descendants would need guidance. Admiral Catherine Walsh's message explained the true history of the galaxy in words that every species could understand, while revealing that humans had been the original guardians who protected weaker civilizations from chaos and destruction. The ancient admiral described how other species had repaid human protection with betrayal and attempted genocide because they feared human technological advancement and natural leadership abilities. President Susan Walsh listened to her ancestors' message from the command center on Earth while coordinating the final phase of humanity's war against the Galactic Empire. The revelation that she was descended from the last commander of the human dominion filled her with both pride and responsibility as she realized that the current conflict was not just about human survival, but about restoring the proper order to galactic civilization. The message broadcast by Admiral Catherine Walsh shattered the propaganda that the Empire had used to justify centuries of human oppression, while revealing that every story about human origins had been deliberately fabricated to hide the truth. Rebellions broke out on dozens of worlds as oppressed species realized they had been living under the rule of those who had destroyed their former protectors and guardians. General Kevin Stone led human forces in the final assault on Nexus Prime, but the battle unfolded differently than anyone expected as human troops demonstrated that they had inherited their ancestors' preference for justice over revenge. Instead of massacring their enemies, the human soldiers systematically disabled Imperial forces while broadcasting surrender terms in languages that had not been heard for millennia. Emperor Krul Doom watched his empire crumble as world after world declared independence or switched sides to join the human cause. The alien ruler had built his power on lies about galactic history, but now faced the return of the species that had once brought peace and prosperity to the galaxy through benevolent leadership and superior technology. The ancient flagship UTS Prometheus Prime arrived at Nexus Prime just as General Stone's forces reached the Imperial Palace, but the massive ship served as a symbol of returning human authority rather than a weapon of destruction. Admiral Catherine Walsh's consciousness communicated directly with human commanders, while providing tactical guidance based on thousands of years of strategic experience. Emperor Krul Doom made a desperate decision to activate the galaxy's ultimate weapon rather than surrender to the humans whose ancestors his people had betrayed and attempted to destroy. The device had been built using human technology stolen during the original betrayal and was designed to eliminate all biological life in the galaxy, rather than allow humans to reclaim their rightful position. Chief Engineer Tom Roberts analyzed the ultimate weapons design from his position aboard the UTS Prometheus Prime and discovered that the original human engineers had included a hidden failsafe even while facing extinction. The ancient humans had built their technology to prevent its use for genocide because they understood that such weapons would ultimately destroy the civilization they were meant to protect. The ultimate weapon activated, but instead of destroying all life in the galaxy, it turned against its creators as the hidden failsafe recognized the genocidal intent and neutralized the Imperial fleet. Tom Roberts watched in amazement as human technology from thousands of years ago demonstrated the wisdom and foresight of ancestors who had prepared for this possibility even in their darkest hour. President Susan Walsh stood in the ruins of the Imperial Palace facing Emperor Krul Doom, who expected the brutal revenge that would normally follow such complete defeat. The galaxy watched through broadcast networks as the human leader prepared to deliver justice for centuries of oppression and the attempted genocide of her people. Instead of ordering mass executions or brutal punishment, President Walsh offered something the galaxy had not seen for millennia, as she announced that humans would resume their ancient role as guardians and protectors. The defeated emperor would face justice for his crimes, but his people would receive the same protection that humans had once provided to all galactic civilizations. The establishment of the new Galactic Republic followed principles that Admiral Catherine Walsh had preserved in the quantum matrix of the ancient flagship. Representatives from all species would participate in galactic government, but humans would provide the leadership and protection that had once brought peace and prosperity to thousands of worlds. Dr. Lisa Morgan returned to her research, but now worked alongside alien scientists to rebuild galactic civilization according to the benevolent principles that humans had established during their original dominion. The xenobiologist who had discovered the truth about human origins now helped other species understand their place in a galaxy where humans had resumed their natural role as guardians. Human ships began patrolling the spaceways not as conquerors, seeking to dominate other species, but as guardians, returning to their ancient duty of protecting the weak and maintaining order. The restored human fleet carried weapons capable of destroying entire star systems, but used their power to prevent conflicts rather than start them. Admiral Catherine Walsh's consciousness finally found peace as she watched her descendants restore the galactic civilization that had been destroyed by betrayal and fear thousands of years earlier. The ancient admiral had waited in quantum storage for millennia to see humans reclaim their heritage and resume their responsibility as protectors of all galactic life. The new galactic republic flourished under human leadership as species that had suffered under imperial tyranny rediscovered the prosperity and security they had enjoyed during the original human dominion. Trade routes reopened while conflicts ended as human guardians ensured that all civilizations could develop according to their own cultural preferences without fear of oppression. Dr. Morgan made her final log entry describing how the discovery of human origins had led to the restoration of galactic peace and the return of humanity to their proper role as guardians. The scientist who had started the chain of events that toppled an empire now worked to ensure that the galaxy would never again forget the true history of human civilization. Admiral Catherine Walsh's quantum consciousness prepared to power down after completing her long vigil as she delivered her final message to the restored human civilization. Her last words echoed through the command systems of human ships across the galaxy as ancient technology finally rested after millennia of waiting for this moment of redemption and renewal.